First up, let's quickly recap how 26/11 plotter David Headley has implicated Pakistan in the Chicago trial, which is on right now. And first of all, prosecutors have submitted a whole lot of evidence like emails from Headley to his handlers in the ISI. In fact, he has testified to getting help and guidance from 2 ISI officers, and the emails show that they are in constant touch with him and his handlers. One of them is Major Iqbal, identified as Chaudhry Khan, who Headley claims is a 26/11 mastermind and made key decisions. Headley also says he met Major Iqbal several times before the 26/11 attacks, and that terror groups like the LET operated under the umbrella of the ISI. Now, NDTV's Sarah Jacob is following that story very closely. She joins us from Chicago, where the trial is going on. Sarah, first of all, for India, the Headley ISI military link is the most crucial link. But will that also be the focus of American prosecutors?
That's a really important question, Sunetra, because what's interesting right now is that though this trial is about proving Rana's complicity or guilt, for the first few days in this courtroom, the prosecutor has been focusing only on establishing Headley's guilt, only on establishing the background to this case, Headley's connections with the LET and the ISI. They've been putting out evidence, emails and other correspondence between Headley and his ISI handler and Headley and his LET handler. As part of evidence, for example, they put out Headley's phone book, which he's written out in hand all the numbers of all these guys that he's been in touch with, the co-conspirators, the plotters of 26/11. So while if you were in court, actually, Sunetra, you would be forgiven for thinking that it's Headley on trial and not Rana, because that's what the prosecution is focusing on right now. Before they even get to Rana's guilt, they're first establishing Headley's guilt. And that's what all the papers, national and international, are picking up so far here in Chicago.
And Sarah, you've been reporting that, today is the day where cross-questioning starting. Tell us what we can expect today from the trial.
Well, Sunetra, the big headline for today is that the defense might actually get a chance to begin their cross-questioning of the star witness, David Coleman Headley. The defense is expected to put him and subject him to some intense questioning, and the question is, how will David Coleman Headley fare under the pressure? The defense is out to discredit him. As far as they're concerned, their stand is basically that because of his background, because he's worked for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Authority, because he's, as they would say, squealed or sung in the past, given himself up to authorities and spoken out about his other co-conspirators in other plots, anything he says in court cannot be taken as the truth. The question is, how will David Coleman Headley, the man who's played such a crucial role in plotting 26/11, who's done the most daring of things, travel all over India, recce Mumbai for 26/11, how will he fare under the pressure he's going to be put under today in this court in Chicago?
Sarah, thanks very much for all those details. Let's look at the question that we're asking. 26/11, the Headley ISI link. How can India capitalize on Headley's ISI confessions? And to discuss that, we have in studio Mr. K.C. Singh, former diplomat, and also we have RKP Shankar Das, senior lawyer, also has great experience with international cases. Thank you both for joining us. Mr. Shankar Das, I want to first come to you. If you were India's lawyer, if you were advising them, what would you tell them now? How do we take all this evidence that is now brought out in the public domain? How do we take this evidence and use it to our benefit? Mr. Shankar Das, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can now, yes. No, you were asking me if I was India's lawyer as to what would I be advising as to what might be done with this evidence.
Yes.
Well, of course, there are a number of things that can be done with this evidence. At the moment, of course, the first reaction one has is there is so much evidence that the prosecution is putting into the court, and one wonders whether and it's all very sort of subcontinental oriented, and I wonder whether the jury is really taking all of this in. I hope they are, for the sake of the prosecution, because otherwise I know we all understand it sitting here, but I keep wondering how the jury is reacting to it. So that if I was, you asked me, I think, did you ask me if I was a defense lawyer as to what I would do?
No, if you were India's lawyer.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, I was just saying, if you had to advise the Indian government as their lawyer, what would you tell them?
Oh, well, of course, as I say, it is to very carefully analyze the evidence and store it as they are. It's very valuable evidence, and it's sort of fits in with the overall scheme of the trend that the government of India, or India as a whole, has been following over the years, ever since 26/11, which is, as you know, we had two options at the time when 26/11 took place. One of them was, of course, to hit back with some kind of violence or other. But okay. I think the choice was made that no, we would rather react by collecting or more or less appealing to the international conscience on all of this. Right. And for that purpose, we are obviously very slowly but very effectively, I think, collecting material, and this trial is certainly giving, at least making available a whole lot of evidence,
okay,
which could be put together and used for you.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So if I can just ask you, Mr. Singh, that, Mr. Shankar Das is saying, as a lawyer, it's great evidence. A lot of it, of course, is, we're getting a lot of details, but a lot of it is also known, like Major Iqbal's name and the fact that he's an ISI. Now, as a diplomat, can we capitalize on it? How do we push it forward?
Well, I'll answer that, but let me also answer the legal part.
Right.
You see, what's happened is Kassab's conspiracy, as you know, they had involved two other names with that.
Yes.
At that stage, it was not known that the real originator of the conspiracy was Headley. Once Headley's name came in, those two persons obviously were acquitted because they were claimed to have drawn a hand-drawn map or something. And here you're talking of photographs and,
diary.
all kinds of diary and much more. I mean, it's all photographic evidence. Therefore, once Headley came out into the open, the immensity of the conspiracy came into the public domain. Again, we got rather belated access to Headley. As you know, investigators wanted instant access. There was some reluctance on the part of US at that stage. But you must remember, US-Pakistan relations at that stage were a little different from what they are after Osama's killing.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. NDTV.com/apps.